It was supposed to be just another preseason game, a quiet night in October, starters easing in, rookies trying to impress, and fans barely paying attention. But what unfolded between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets looked nothing like a preseason warm-up. From the very first possession, you could feel it. Minnesota wasn't there to tune up. They were there to make a statement. Nas Reed hit his first three like it was a finals game. The energy in his step, the confidence in his shot, it wasn't the same player fans saw a year ago. Then came Gobert locking down Jokic, McDaniels hitting tough shots, and Minnesota's bench looking like they'd been waiting all summer for this moment. Meanwhile, the defending champs looked surprised. The Nuggets, known for their control and rhythm, were scrambling. Passes weren't clicking, rotations were off, and even Jokic, calm as ever, seemed to feel the heat. Something was shifting. This wasn't just a scrimmage, it was a warning shot. From the jump, you could tell Minnesota came in with a chip on their shoulder. They weren't intimidated by the defending champs, not even close. Instead, every play screamed intensity. Nas Reed set the tone early, pulling up confidently from deep, sidestepping defenders like a seasoned star. For a guy who once went undrafted, it felt like he'd been waiting years for this exact stage to prove he belonged. While most teams back off when facing Nikola Jokić, Minnesota went straight at him. Gobert played like a man on a mission, contesting every shot, grabbing every loose ball, and anchoring a defense that didn't give Denver any rhythm. You could see it in their body language. This was personal. Jaden McDaniels hit impossible mid-range shots. Cam Johnson slipped through the defense like it was drawn up in slow motion. Even the Timberwolves bench was electric. Every bucket felt like a statement. The chemistry, the communication, the confidence, it all looked sharper, faster, hungrier than Denver's usually flawless flow. On the other end, Denver looked human, something we're not used to seeing. Turnovers, missed rotations, and moments where they simply looked a step behind. When Bones Highland finally hit a deep three to stop the bleeding, the crowd exhaled like it had been holding its breath. But Minnesota wasn't done. They wanted everyone watching to understand that this wasn't a fluke. They were matching the champs punch for punch and winning the fight. You don't usually see the Denver Nuggets struggle to get clean looks. With Jokic orchestrating the floor like a chess master, most defenses end up reacting, chasing, and hoping for a miss. But Minnesota flipped the script completely. Rudy Gobert looked like the defensive anchor fans had been waiting to see since the big trade. Every time Jokic tried to post up or pull up from mid-range, Gobert was there forcing awkward shots and cutting off passing lanes. And when Jokic did manage to dish it out, the Timberwolves' rotations were perfect. It wasn't just effort, it was discipline. McDaniels smothered the perimeter. Anthony Edwards, even sitting out this game, had clearly set a tone for the team. Play hard, play fast, and don't back down. Everyone bought in. Denver's usual pick-and-roll game looked broken. Passes that normally led to easy layups were getting tipped, deflected, or turned into fast breaks the other way. And those fast breaks? Minnesota made them count. Nas Reed, again, was the spark, running the floor, finishing strong, and showing confidence that screamed, "I'm not just a backup." Every possession seemed to add pressure on Denver, forcing them into mistakes they rarely make. By the time the first half ended, the Nuggets weren't just losing, they were outworked. The defending champs suddenly looked like the ones trying to keep up. When the second half tipped off, everyone expected Denver to flip the switch. After all, we've seen this movie before. Jokic slows the tempo, Murray heats up, and suddenly the Nuggets are back in control. But this time, Minnesota didn't let that happen. Every time Denver tried to build momentum, someone from the Timberwolves shut it down. Gobert blocked a mid-range jumper. McDaniels drained a step-back three. Then Nas Reed again punished Denver's defense with another deep shot that made the bench explode. You could almost sense the frustration building for Denver. Jokic looked to his teammates after a missed rotation, shaking his head. Aaron Gordon tried to create a fence, forcing tough shots that wouldn't fall. Even Bones Highland, normally a burst of instant energy, couldn't get consistent looks. Meanwhile, Minnesota's bench was thriving. Cam Johnson, Christian Braun, and Peyton Watson kept the pace high, diving for loose balls, pushing transition plays, and keeping Denver on its heels. This wasn't just effort, it was belief. And the crowd could feel it. Every big play from Minnesota was met with that electric preseason buzz, that sense of wait. Are we actually watching the Timberwolves dominate the defending champs? By the end of the third quarter, Denver had trimmed the lead slightly, but it didn't feel like a comeback. It felt like survival. Minnesota had taken their best punch and didn't flinch. By the time the fourth quarter began, everyone expected Minnesota to slow down. It's preseason, after all. But that's what made what happened next so shocking. They didn't coast, they cranked it up. Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson tried to give Denver some spark, hitting a few big shots to close the gap. But Minnesota's energy never faded. Every time the Nuggets started to breathe, the Wolves snatched the momentum right back. Zeke Naji threw down a strong finish inside, thinking maybe that would wake Denver up.
It didn't.
Hunter Tyson nailed a three, and just seconds later, Nas Reed answered with one of his own, the kind of confident shot that makes you realize this guy isn't just having a good night, he's arrived. You could see the difference between the two teams right there.
Denver was searching for rhythm. Minnesota was the rhythm. Even when Jokic checked back in, things didn't click.
The Timberwolves' defense tightened again, forcing awkward passes and contested shots. Every rebound felt like a small victory, every possession like a message being sent to the entire league.
And the final minutes? They weren't even close.
Minnesota closed the game with control, poise, and confidence that screamed, "We belong here."
It didn't matter that it was just preseason.
What mattered was the message. This team wasn't backing down from anyone, not even the champs.
When the buzzer sounded, the scoreboard didn't just show a win.
It showed a shift. When the final buzzer hit, most people probably shrugged it off. Just another preseason win, right?
But if you were really watching, you saw something deeper. This wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke.
It was Minnesota showing growth, discipline, chemistry, and a sense of purpose we haven't seen from this team in years. Nas Reed didn't just score points, he showed confidence, control, and leadership.
The kind of presence that turns a role player into a difference maker.
Rudy Gobert, often criticized for disappearing in big games, looked reborn, calm, focused, and finally synced with the team around him.
And Jaden McDaniels?
He played like he'd been waiting for this chance to show he's more than just defense, he's a weapon.
This game revealed something even more important: Minnesota's balance. They weren't relying on one star to carry them. Everyone contributed.
Every player had a role and played it with energy. That's what championship caliber basketball looks like, even when it's just preseason.
Meanwhile, Denver looked vulnerable.
No one's questioning Jokic's greatness, but this game showed how thin the line can be between dominance and struggle. When the bench doesn't click, when spacing breaks down, when defensive rotations lag, even the best teams can look mortal. It's too early to draw big conclusions, but one thing's for sure, the gap in the West might be closing faster than people think.
And if the Timberwolves can bring the same fire when it really counts,
they won't just be another playoff team.
They'll be a problem.
By the end of the night, something had shifted, not just in the box score, but in the energy. For years, the Timberwolves have been a team built on potential, flashes of greatness followed by inconsistency. But this game, it felt different. It felt like a glimpse of who they could truly become. Nas Reed's rise was more than a stat line. It was a story of persistence, of a player who went undrafted, refused to fade out, and came back stronger every season. He didn't just play well, he played like he belonged among stars. Rudy Gobert looked like the defensive force Minnesota thought they were getting when they traded for him.
No hesitation, no missteps, just pure dominance in the paint.
And behind it all was a sense of unity that this team hasn't had in years. Every player on that floor looked locked in, playing not for stats, but for each other. On the other side, Denver learned something too. Even the best can get punched in the mouth when they least expect it. They're still the champs, but now, they know who's coming for them. What made this game special wasn't the score, or even the highlights. It was the statement. Minnesota didn't just play basketball, they announced themselves. So when fans look back on this preseason matchup months from now, they might realize it wasn't just a tune-up game. It was a preview, a warning, a spark that could ignite one of the most unexpected stories of the season.
Because every contender starts somewhere.
And if the Timberwolves keep this same fire,
this night might be the one that started it all.